Yay.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Love Your Body podcast. I am here with Meghan Linsey, my amazing client. If you also seen her, if you followed The Voice, she's the runner. You were runner-up for what year was it?
Season 8. So it's 2015.
Okay. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Amazing singer, amazing person, amazing client. I've been lucky to be able to work with you for over a year now.
It's been like, yeah.
Yeah, like we're coming. I think we're coming, like, it's a year, like now.
Yeah, I think it is now.
I love that. It's been awesome. How have you been liking it? How you liking, the LIB, like life before Danny, life now after?
Yeah. No, it's been great.
Yeah.
I feel really good. I feel better now than I did in my 20s. So that's good.
Yay. I love that. That's so awesome. And so tell everybody, just a little bit of backstory about you, because you're from Louisiana, right?
Yeah, I was born in New Orleans. I grew up down there and, in that crazy environment.
Yes.
But yeah, I kind of started singing in high school. Well, way before high school, when I was 9. But I started singing in bands in high school and writing songs and got really interested in Nashville and wanted to come here and try to write songs. And it's been a journey.
Was your family, are they musically inclined? Are they?
A little bit, kind of. My mom sang when she was young, and my grandmother sang, and then there's some we have some bluegrass players on my mom's side of the family that are like world class, they're crazy. And then on my dad's side, there's some singers as well. So I mean, it does run in my family. Both my parents are in the medical field though, so it's really funny.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So when you were did they kind of expect this from you, that this was going to be your path, or were they no, you need to follow in our path?
Oh no, they were super supportive, which was nice. They were always they knew. I mean, I was very interested in performing since I was really little. You know? So I think they knew what was up.
Okay, I love that. So when you came here, was it what year was that?
2004.
Okay, wow.
I've been here a minute.
Yeah, you have been here a minute. So is the house that I've been to, is that your house that you've been to, been here since 2004?
Oh no.
Okay. So tell me about that.
No, it's been a journey. I've moved a lot.
Yeah.
No, I moved here I was in a little apartment in West Nashville when I first got here, and then I bounced around a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually just bought our house in 2020.
Okay, very cool. I love that. And you actually, so you and your husband, so Tyler, he's so sweet. Love him. You guys have it's the Bold Music Group, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what tell them about that.
Yeah. So we have a studio,
which is sick, by the way. I had a client Christmas party there, and it was such a vibe. It's a gospel type, church vibe.
Yeah.
And which is, I don't know, but it just works. You know what I mean?
We wanted it to feel like Nashville meets New Orleans, which I feel like it really does.
Yes.
And the big room, I found that stained glass, and I was like, oh, it's a cool, churchy cathedral theme.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, that was kind of the vibe. But yeah, we have the studio, and then we put everything out independently. So we run our own distribution, and we do experiences for corporate groups. We play shows. We do all kinds of stuff. We have many irons in the fire.
Yes.
Yeah,
and I want to talk
always.
about these because, I'm sure that people, especially on social media, they may see you as just, not just, but a singer, right?
Yeah,
and they're
of
like,
course.
okay, celebrity singer, whatever.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, I'm literally running stuff.
Yeah. I'm running multiple businesses.
Yeah, which is so awesome.
Yeah.
And it's good to see. I think that we've talked about a lot of the give back things that you've done too. And it's Country Music Hall of Fame. You go there and do stuff, right?
Yeah.
Is that who is that? Is that just a partnership and they have you come out?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we partnered with the Hall of Fame, and we do these, it's really a songwriting workshop, I guess you would call it, with kids, and they come in and we, write a song and with them all collectively and record it, and we do it all in an hour, which is crazy.
That's so cool.
But yeah, and we talk to them. They ask lots of questions. It's actually been one of the most rewarding things that I've done, I think, as an artist, just because it keeps me in check.
Yes,
one.
yeah.
It also keeps me in tune with what's going on. I feel kids are I don't know. Kids are great, actually. Especially that age, high school. I'm oh, you guys are way cooler than I was.
Right.
They're all way cooler than I was in high school. In the best way. Whereas they're just I don't know, they're non-judgmental. They know like what they want. They're more confident. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
No, it's
for
good
the
to
most
see.
part. That's what I've dealt with, which has been really cool.
I love that. So with that, so yeah, you have that business, and then I know that you have you have a property which is not Airbnb. You long term rent that.
Yeah. We have another rental.
Yeah, which is super sick.
Yeah.
So I think that how we kind of related a lot was like when you came in and everything, because you were referred by Georgia.
Yeah.
And love her. And so a lot of people who follow, my socials have seen her and Nikki and everything like that. And so it's been cool to have just awesome, boss babes, is the easiest way I can say it, because it was cool. Cause I'm like, I don't know how she's going to be. Like, I was like, I don't know. Like, is she like, I've dealt with people from like Franklin, Brentwood, like whatever.
Yeah.
And, California, all the different things and stereotypes you would all think. And over my course of time. So I'm like, I don't know how it's going to go, but just going to take her how she is. And like, so I want to try to see like, what was do you remember your first session? Like kind of okay. Tell me what was it when you came in? Like,
I was terrified. I was like, what's she going to make me do? And can I do it? Like, I was just kind of scared because I I hadn't trained in a long time with anyone. And like, I always have been like in and out of fitness and like always like I've done yoga for a long time and like I've always like tried to do something, but like when you have a trainer, it's like, oh God, is she gonna like kill me?
Like what's gonna happen?
Am I gonna throw up? I don't know.
Yeah, and you didn't.
No, I was fine.
You were totally fine. You did great. Took you were at your level, which was great. But yeah, no, it was just like from pretty much that first session, I was like, oh, she's gonna be real cool.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
No, I felt like we clicked immediately, which was nice.
Yeah, which was so great.
Yeah.
But it was also too, it's like as you started like developing like and talking about your story and stuff, it would be like these things where you're saying like, yeah, like I'm running this rental and and like I have the Airbnb, so I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like and like could relate to you on that. And like it was just a lot of it was really inspiring to see, because I feel like so many people just stick to like one thing or are scared, you know what I mean? And they're like, I have to do this only, you know what I mean? And they don't have like one capacity, but also to like continually want to be on that grind.
Right.
And so we've talked about that a lot. So is it something where you feel like you've just always innately had that ambition to just do a bunch of different things? Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like go after a bunch of goals?
I mean, part of it is that, and then part of it is just like the way the music industry works now. It's like you can't just do one thing. Like you almost like, it's like almost like survival. Like you're like, okay, like I have to be able to do a lot of different things. And then honestly, like moving to Nashville when I was I moved here when I was 18 and I didn't have a clue. And it's like, you really learn like how you have to be an entrepreneur in order to be in the music business. Like even if you have a label, you have to be an entrepreneur because you still have a payroll and you still have a touring entity and you still have to like you have to have some business sense, I think I've always had that in me, like just the like innate, like street smart. I'm pretty like, I can read people pretty well. Yeah. Like I get vibes, but like, I've learned. I learned a ton just since I moved here, just about like business and like, a lot of it is just people, It's like, how do you deal with people?
100%. Right. I get that. I totally get that. And I do think that it is important to say that like, it's not like you were out here, like, again, you were doing things that all kind of coincided though, right? Like, and they all kind of play off of each other. Yeah. And so it's like, especially with like having that space and having people come in like the corporate, it's like that all ties in. Yeah.
It definitely does. And I think like building the studio even was like a huge, like at the time it felt like a huge risk, you know, like it was like we were swinging for the fences because it was like, it's just like it's a huge project to do something like that. And it was almost like we had this feeling like build it and they'll come, and it was like, and it worked, like we just went for it and we just believed that was going to work, and it has.
That's super cool. So when you guys, cause I just didn't even know that cause I think that's something to differentiate too. Like, singers, songwriters, right? And you feel like you do both.
Yeah, for sure.
And I feel like so many people that I have met in the past are either or. And so that's where it was kind of like, okay, them to put on top of that, like to have your own like music group, like that label, right? Like was another layer. And I'm just like, man, you really are what's the word? Like multi-dimensional in that sense, you know? And so I've never really experienced that with a bunch of like, you know, singers and people that I've talked to and stuff, and in that backstory of that. So if someone's listening and they're like in Nashville and they're trying to, you know, get in the music industry and stuff, like, what is your advice to them? Like in that part, you know what I mean? Like, because maybe they're like, I can't swing for the fence. Like, I don't got a space, you know, or they're just like making it, whatever. Like, what is something you tell them or you've talked to your young kids about? Like,
it just, I mean, for me, you know, it's like, I didn't have a space until I was, you know, I'm 38 now. So it was like, that didn't even come to fruition until like 4 years ago. So it's like, and I was here for, you know, 14 years before that. So, I mean, it's definitely like just staying power is a big part of it, I think, you know, like just riding it out. Cause I mean, it was not easy. Like I've literally, you know, heated my apartment with my oven at times, or like not been able to pay my rent, or, you know, like it's not easy. It's hard, but it's just like, if you really want something,
you'll fight.
You'll figure it out. You'll fight for what you want. Yeah, you'll figure it out.
Yes, I love that. Okay, so tell me this. So you came here 2004. Okay, and then when did you like go through the casting process with The Voice?
That was way later. So if we back up to like 2009, is when I had an opportunity. I was on this show called Can You Duet on CMT. Okay. And I was in a duo at the time called Still Magnolia. And we ended up winning the show. And that's when I got my first record deal with Big Machine.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, that was a whole nother show. That was actually like a Fremantle show, which they do American Idol. Okay. So it was kind of the same concept, just like without the budget.
Right. I see. Okay.
And on CMT. So it was like, didn't get as much exposure, but it was a really good opportunity because that's how I got my deal with Big Machine. Okay. You know, and Scott Borchetta was a judge. He's like the president of Big Machine. So that was a crazy ride in itself. That was like I feel like I've had like these like several lives.
That's what I say all the time. Yes. I literally say.
That was a whole nother life.
It feels like, yes, I totally get that. I'm like strongman competitions, like competing, you know, back when I was running half marathons, like before when I was in Vermont, like I'm just like, these were like, it feels like I wasn't even that person, or I don't even know. And like, but I am all those people together.
You are. Like, and you learn to adapt. Like you learn how to like keep going and keep, you know, it's just like, you don't know what you're capable of until you go through something. Right. So there's that.
Which I feel like a lot of people don't want to go through.
Right. You know what I mean? I mean, and sometimes I don't either, you know? Like,
so, right.
But you just roll with it.
Exactly. So do you feel like when you were kind of going through that, like that things just kind of snowballed from there? Okay.
Yeah, if I was going to like say a definitive, like, here's my break. Right. Like that was my break. That was my break. I got signed to Big Machine. Like that year we had, you know, top 5 on Billboard country song. Like we had like some really big successes with that, you know, and got to do, I mean, play the Opry and like go tour all over the country. Like I got to do everything that I had like dreamed about doing.
Okay. So your first tour that you went on was in 2009?
10, yeah.
2010. Okay, cool. And you did that with them. And have you been on tour since?
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've been on like, I mean, that actually, like that was my first major tour was with Brad Paisley. That was 2010. Okay. We did that, and then I went out with Bob Seger for like his whole tour. Yes. That was cool.
Oh, my dad will love that. Like,
he's so cool.
Okay.
He's so cool.
I love that.
I did Reba, open for Reba. I'm trying to think. We got to do a lot of really cool stuff. Blake Shelton. I don't know. Bunch of people. Yeah. Bunch of country artists.
Who was the Okay, so you did that. So you had the CMT. What was it called?
It's called Can You Duet?
Can You Duet? Okay, and then that like got you onto The Voice, or got you the connections?
No, that got me on the record label, and then we that lasted till about 2013, I guess. Okay, and then we broke up. Okay, and then that was kind of like those couple years before I had The Voice were kind of like a weird transition, like where I'm just like, trying to figure it out. Like, what am I doing? Like, everybody knows me like as the girl from Still Magnolia. Okay. I see. You know, and I had been through like a lot with the ending of that. Like my ex went to rehab, and we were dating. Like we were a duo, but we were also like engaged to be married.
You guys were like, y'all sang together.
Yeah, we were singing together, but we were also like together.
Wow.
And so that whole thing like imploded, and he had it. Obviously, he had a problem, and I was just like so young. Like I was still only at that point. I think I was like 23.
Right.
So I just like didn't. It was just like it was a lot to navigate.
Yeah.
And that was like right when he went into rehab, I went out and did the Reba tour.
Oh, okay.
Because we were scheduled to do that. So it was just like it was like a lot,
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah.
So had y'all met before? Like y'all got that? Okay.
Yeah,
so
we had been dating for a few years before we even did the show.
Okay. Did you know that he had like?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I was just so young that you put up with different things when you're young.
Yeah.
It was just like, okay, well,
Was that kind of the lifestyle? Like with the, not to say like like singers like do that, but like I mean you hear of like rock and roll and like stuff like that. So was that kind of like his, like he kind of took that to the extreme?
Yeah, I think like I always say that like fame is almost like alcohol, like it amplifies character.
Okay. Yeah.
And I feel like for me, like that wasn't ever an issue, so I didn't really have a problem. But like I think if you do have a problem before it happens,
it's gonna only make it worse.
It only makes it worse.
I see.
And so that it was already kind of bad before we got the record deal, and then once we got the record deal, I was like, okay, like
it's gonna
and that was the kind of that was like the parallel between like it was like everything that I ever wanted was happening and it was great.
Yeah.
But then there was like this other dark side of it too,
People listening right now are like, they already know. Like that was exactly what I went through.
Yeah.
Like the height of everything.
Yeah.
Like, and no one, I mean, I don't know how your circles, if they all knew or whatever, but like it was one of those things where like he like hid everything. So like no one knew those things. So it was one of those deals where it was easy to hide it, but it was like people had no idea like what you're going through with that.
Right.
And
they don't know, or they'll see you and they know you're going through something, but they don't know like to what extreme or I don't know. That was one thing that everybody told me like afterwards was like, oh, you look so much lighter. Like you always look so heavy.
Yes.
Like you were like carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders.
Because you were. Like,
I was.
It
was a lot.
Yeah. Because taking care of, grown man, you know, essentially.
Pretty much, yeah.
Doing all the things that kind of entail with that. So, so from there, after you guys kind of split ways, what was, so was it just then you kind of got the opportunity came through?
Well, and I around that time too is like when I met my husband now, Tyler, and it was like, we kind of started working together. Like he was, helping me like write and producing some music for me, and I was just trying to figure it out. I was like, okay, what do I want? Because like I mean, I walked away from a solo deal with Big Machine at the time. I mean, they were trying to sign me as a solo artist, and I was in no place to sign a deal right then.
I see.
Like, I just wasn't. I was like in shambles.
Well, yeah.
It was like I had to like figure out how to fix myself so that I knew what I wanted, and that's kind of where the point I was at, I think. And it took me a couple years to like go, okay, what am I doing? And then I randomly got a call from The Voice.
Okay.
Which was so crazy because like I wasn't. Like, it didn't even occur to me to do a show like that again.
Yes.
So I was like, I had already done that. And I was like, I'd already had a record deal. I'd already had a hit on the radio at that point. So I was like, I don't even know if I qualify to be on The Voice.
Yeah.
And then they called me when I was in line at the Panera Bread.
Okay. Dude, why do all opportunities happen at Panera?
I don't know. Is that a thing?
With me too.
Really?
Like, yes. I swear. I got the gig for Bonnaroo and I got told about going to Vermont at the resort.
At Panera Bread?
Yes, because that used to be my jam in Knoxville. I would go up in there. The guy would give me a big cookie at the end. I'd be thanks. Got my healthy broccoli cheddar soup. Yeah. For those listening, I'm quoting that on that vibe. Yeah. Anyway, and hey, it was better than having a calzone. You know what I'm saying? Truth. But still, it was just
that's funny.
But yeah, but anyway, keep going. What were you saying? So
I mean, it was just like she called and she was like, "Hey, I'm a producer for The Voice. Like, would love for you to come audition. We saw your YouTube, whatever."
Yeah.
And I was like, I literally was in the middle of checking out. I was like, "Let me call you back." So I hung up and I like checked out, and my total when I checked out was 1111, which I have tattooed on my back of my neck.
Yeah.
It's kind of a thing for me. So I checked out and I was like, okay, maybe I should call her back.
Yeah.
So I called her back and I was like, what's the audition process? She was like, well, we would fly you to LA like Monday or Tuesday or whatever.
Gosh.
And it was like Friday.
Right.
So I'm like calling Tyler. I'm like, hey, I think I'm going to go do this. And I'm like, it's kind of just like a real, like, I don't know. It's kind of like, you have these moments in life where you're either just like, I'm going to go for it or not. Like,
yeah. 100%.
And I was like, let's just do it. Let's just see what happens. Like, I don't know. I didn't have anything else going on, really. Yeah. Like, I was trying to make something happen.
Right. Well, isn't that so wild? Like, even when you say that, because I feel like we both have talked about being like creatives and like how we have all these ideas and have all this stuff that we could like go through and do whatever. It's just like piecing it together. But how wild is it that, you know, in this, I would say, struggle of a year, but that you're sitting there, you're like, I don't know. I'm trying to fix, you know, work on my stuff, you know, figure it out. And then this is brought to you. And I believe that's like God bringing that to you.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's where like, I always wrestle with it and try to set the example in that of like, you can't rush certain things. You know what I mean? Because like you could have been emailing The Voice every day. I mean, who knows, right? And like, and trying to do it and stuff, and it would never worked out.
It never works when I'm trying.
Yes, exactly. And that's the same with me. But then it's like, how do you, as a strong, you know, independent, like female, like navigate that balance, right? Because it's like you got to be cool with the peace.
Yep.
But you also got, because that's what I was telling my dad the other day. We were talking about like literally everything that's happened. I've like spoke it into existence and said it, but it literally was years later.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have, you know, any timeline or anything.
Right.
And that's why now I'm like, okay, just because you just had a birthday or just because whatever doesn't mean that it's the right time to do that. But it's that waiting period that just kills me.
Yeah.
Like where I'm like, oh, nothing's going on. Like nothing's happening, but things are.
Things are always happening.
Yes.
It's just like you staying consistent and doing the work so you're ready when those opportunities come.
100%. Got it. Like use that as a clip, Logan, because yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Like, because it really is. You have to be ready. And so, you know, I want to talk about The Voice a little bit more, but I do want to like fast forward a moment and saying that like, I think too, that's so parallel with like having a healthy lifestyle journey, right? Like if you're not in your best health, they call you up for tour.
You're not ready.
You ain't going. You know what I mean? And like that's happened to some of my people who are like, they had to put down amazing, incredible things that were going to happen because they were bedridden or they had, you know, XYZ, you know, disease or this or that, whatever.
Right.
And it's just like, I would hate if that was, you know what I'm saying? If I couldn't go do something that I had always dreamed of or whatever, because I wasn't healthy enough to do so.
Right.
Mind, body, and spirit. Right. So I did want to ask, what was the determining factor of you like wanting to, you know, have a trainer? Like, was it like that you know, were kind of like, I just don't really know what to do, or I want to see more changes in my body, or like, were you kind of at a standstill? Like what was going on?
Yeah. I mean, it was a little bit of all of it. I actually I think I went to lunch with Georgia and I was talking to her about like wanting to like work out more and stuff. And she was like, oh, we should talk to Danny, my trainer. Yeah. But it was really just, I feel like we had gone through like, obviously the whole 2020 and COVID and all that stuff. It was like, I felt like we all reclused. We all like were, you know what I mean? 100%. Like just in the house, right? So it was like, I kind of let some things go, obviously. And then like, also like, I just feel like I'm a person who like needs that kind of motivation. Like even if I'm only seeing you once a week, like I'm still going to get my other workouts in because I saw you.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying?
No, because it's a snowball effect. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how I program of, okay, if you do the things when you're on your own that like I'm kind of instructing you to do, then we can do more fun things when you're with me.
Right.
But if you don't move your body until the next time I see you, then we're just going to be doing the basics. Right. You know? So we can't, you know, have fun deadlifting, or we can't, you know, do all the cool stuff. Right. It's, and just for safety wise. Right. So I love that. And I saw you were like, you were working out like last night, right?
Night before. Yeah. I mean, I definitely like, because I see you, I am definitely way more active than I would be if I didn't see you.
I love that.
And you are really great about texting and keeping me motivated and all of that. And that's nice. Like I need that.
Right. But that's the thing too, and I want people listening to like hear that, because I was talking to somebody, another client earlier, and it was one of those things where I'm like, you don't have to do this by yourself.
Right.
That's what the great thing about all of this is, about Dandy Fitness and like loving your body and everything, is like, I told her, I was like, I did have to do it by myself. And for years, and like nobody cared. Like, you know what I mean? And not to be like whatever, like, but it was just like, nobody was like, hey, like you run in. Hey, you like whatever, like, you know what I mean? And so it was one of those things, and I easily could have too, with like group fitness classes I taught, I could have like given those to other people, because people were always trying to take my classes. Right. Because I had like the best classes. Anyway, and I could have been like, yeah, you take the $11.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, I'm gonna make my $11 teaching that class. You know what I mean? And like sweating my booty off and whatever. But again, because I loved it. But it was just one of those things where like, I don't know, at the end of the day, it just, I don't know. I look back so fondly on that and tell people that like, even though it felt like I was so alone in that, I was able to create this strength that I knew that I wanted other people to never have to feel like that.
Right.
And experience and go through that.
Yeah. For sure.
And so anyway, so that's why I was talking to them and they're a new client. I was like, you can text me.
Yeah.
Like, we can't, like, please talk to me. Like, let me know, like, how you're feeling, what's going on. Like, I want that. And want you guys to feel like you are part of the community.
Yeah, for sure.
So I love that. So yeah, and so you've been strength training, you've been deadlifting, you've been doing all these awesome things, just like getting after it. And like, I mean, did you ever? I mean, you've known like you're strong, right? Like,
I mean, figuratively,
yeah.
But yes, but I mean, I've I'm learning that,
Yeah.
I'm unlearning a lot of things too.
Right. 100%. No, and I definitely want to get into that. And so, with I'm sure the pressure of being on stage and, just everything. I mean, from like when you were on The Voice, let's go back to that for a second. You were how old? How old were you?
Oh, I was 29 on The Voice.
Okay. Is that like everybody's kind of that age or was it like everybody's whatever age?
No, there's a lot of people that are like 16.
Okay.
Yeah. I was kind of on the older side actually of people on the show.
Did you feel like that constant pressure of like how you looked on there? Like, were they kind of telling you those things? Like you needed to look a certain way or were they just like... Or was it more internally?
It was more internally. Also, like, it's always a bad idea to read message boards because people are so mean.
Like, super critical. And
super critical of, like, I mean, and I was, it's not even a thing where I, like, was overweight or anything on the show. But it's, like, they would just say stuff about my face and, like, being full and, like, I don't know, my curves and, like, they would just talk. And it was like, and then you start thinking about it and picking yourself apart. So
right before that had happened, had you dealt with any like body shaming before?
Yeah, of course. I mean, anytime you put yourself in the public eye, you're going to deal with people talking about your body. Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, for sure, and I definitely get that. Obviously, hundreds of thousands of comments all about my booty alone. Love that, but it's always comes down to the booty. It's crazy.
Same.
But yours is fantastic. Like, I mean, I love mine too, but like you got a great booty. But is that weird to say about my client?
No.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. But that was what I was gonna say is that like when like I guess when you were younger, like did you kind of have a more mature physique at like when you were younger, or would that happen like when you got older? Like
I mean, I feel like I was always super skinny.
Okay.
I think I had a little bit of a booty maybe in high school, and I feel like that always made me insecure, because I wasn't stick thin.
I see. Okay.
And
it's so, because again, like, even though you're a little bit older than me, when we talked about this, it's like, it's still that stigma that like, that is the only valued body.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and especially then. Are you kidding? Like, I feel like we've had at least a little bit of improvement. A little.
Yeah.
A little.
We're moving up.
Thank God. But, like, back, 90s, early 2000s was brutal.
Yeah.
Like, you had America's Next Top Model, and you had, like, all this, Howard Stern, like, tearing apart women on his show. Like, there was always, like, people picking apart women's bodies. I remember when I was young, and I was never, ever comfortable in my body.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to the Love Your Body podcast and subscribing to the Patreon. If you are interested in ever doing a challenge, personal training, one-on-one, virtually, I train clients all over and would love to have you a part of the community. I have a couple things coming up that I'm really excited about. I will be sponsoring the Aruna 5K run to help enslaved women. So I'll be doing Move Fit at the beginning of that, which will be awesome. You can come by at my booth, get some fight energy, see my girls. It's going to be a great time. Also, you guys, I am coming out with my very first ebook and book. So it's going to be called The How to Love Your Body Throughout. So I'm so excited about that. Make sure to check it out on Amazon and stay tuned for more upcoming things.
Hey guys, it's Meghan Linsey. If you are interested in following me on Instagram, my Instagram's at Meghan Linsey. It's MEGHANLINSEY. I'm also on Facebook under Megan Linsey. My TikTok is Megan Linsey Sings. Please follow me on there. I am a millennial. I have no followers on TikTok, okay? Like all my videos, please. Yeah, and that's it. I post everything that I'm up to and new singles and everything I'm working on. You can just, and if you're interested in doing like any kind of corporate experience, you can just DM me on there or follow. I think it's Bold Music Nashville is my studio page. Cool.
Yeah, the whole stereotype with that type of body, right?
Yeah.
I definitely was like shielded from some of that because I went from a private Christian school to then public school. So it was very Lindsay Lohan, Mean Girls. You know what I'm saying? Like right when I'm in it, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
so this is what's up. Because no one ever spoke about my body when I was at that private school. Like that was not important.
Yeah.
You know? And then getting into public school and then having the freedom to wear not whatever I wanted, but like different clothes, so
Not a
long
school
skirts
uniform.
and long dresses, you know, and all the things. It was so interesting. So then I had a really hard time with that though, because, and this is honestly when I talk about always being naked, like how I couldn't look at myself in the mirror when I was like through like high school after dealing with all the comments and stuff like that and like kind of like questioning myself. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror for years.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I was in college and started getting healthier where I could actually like, see myself like that. But the funny part is that like I hate clothes. So I genuinely felt better with less clothing on.
Yeah.
So I think that's why like at dance, I thrived and loved it, even though like people would be like, oh, your body or whatever. And I was just like, yeah, but like I rock it. Like I feel good.
Yeah.
And then it was just like when I had to get like fit into other people's like, you know, designer brand clothing, I was just like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Like no matter what I wore or whatever, it was never complimentary. I
Yeah.
didn't know like what kind of vibe with like larger, you know, shoulders and like broad and everything like that. So I guess my question is like with you, like, did you like always kind of feel this way about yourself? Or was it because other people started saying things like your mom or whoever influencing that?
Yeah.
Or was it, you know what I mean? Because you just,
I think it's like a combination for me. I definitely like suffered greatly and still do with body dysmorphia. Like even at my skin, I'm like like skinny. And like, I look back at pictures and I'm like, oh, I was so skinny and I was so hard on myself.
For sure.
Like thinking that like, cause you're taught like that being, fat and like whatever that means is like a bad thing. And it's like, I don't know. I just never I never saw myself how I actually was.
Right.
And I still struggle with that. I still am constantly like, oh gosh, am I okay? Like I never feel like I'm getting much better, but I've never felt like I was good enough,
Yeah.
back then.
No, I definitely get it. And I hear that from so many people because, again, it's almost like this idea of perfection was put on us and fear, honestly. Like, I feel like every campaign, every societal like norm, like all has been fear driven to us. Like, well, you're only worthy if you look a certain way. No man's going to want to date you if you don't look like, the supermodel or this or whatever. And these unobtainable, not realistic expectations. You know what I mean? Not even like kind of realistic.
No.
Like, I could understand if it was like a little bit of like, oh, like, that would be so great. And like, this is a variety of people and bodies and whatever.
Yeah.
But even when I first, like, I will never forget being in college and like my best friend was like, hey, like, let's make like a vision board. And I was like, I don't want to make a vision board, but like, you know, whatever. She's like, well, like, who's somebody you want to like look like, whatever. And I was like, I don't see anybody because I realistically knew I can't physically look like, Kim Kardashian wasn't a big deal then, but like her body type. Like I'm not, or like, Simone Biles, right? It's like 5 foot nothing.
Yeah.
Like I can't get that short.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Like I can't, you know what I mean? Like, and so for me, it was like, I can't have that body. So why would I look up to that or be like, oh, I'm so upset that I'm not that body.
Right.
It was more so of like, I wanted to see women that I felt like kind of even look similarly to me that I was like, okay, like that's great. I want to see them doing strong things. And and that didn't happen until like, I don't even know, even like a few years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then they came up and I'm like, thank you. Like, that's so great. And I feel like I've been able to do that for a lot of women too, because it's, again, it's there's so many beautiful parts of every body.
Yeah,
literally.
for sure.
And I just think that like if we're into this world, we're in 2024 where we're combating a lot of things, right? A lot of things. And we can sit here and say all day long that like, no offense, Logan, and all the men listening, but like, oh, that man can't tell me like what to do or this or that or whatever, right? But like, who is driving the narrative that you're not worthy enough and that you don't look good enough?
Yeah.
That's not like a woman, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Behind being like, whatever. It's usually a bunch of dudes that are trying to sell a product to a certain whatever, or they're trying to do the cheapest, most efficient way.
Yeah.
It needs to be a smaller size or it needs to be like whatever. You know what I mean? And I don't know. It's just wild to me. So it's like, I'm like, if we're not listening in this forefront, let's not listen here either.
Right.
Right? And I know, but again, it's unlearning that.
Yeah, when it's ingrained in you from the time you're like a child. Like I remember the first time I like really thought negatively about my body. It was definitely when I was like around 12 years old. So when you start that young, it's like, and then you get, I'm 38 now. It's like that is like it's a lot to unlearn.
100%.
No,
and I get that. And that's why I feel like this mission is so important because it is one of those things. Because like I don't know with when you're looking at your feed and stuff like that and whatever, but like it still is constantly written in like,
Well, it's different now because it's filters and it's like people are like manipulating their body with like programs, and it's like, it's definitely not attainable.
Right.
Like, 'cause it's not real.
Exactly. And that's where I think, a lot of my clients will do like, Instagram or like whatever detoxes, right? And then they'll be off of it and stuff like that. And I get it, right? I get because you can start to see all these things and like whatever, and it really affects you. And it's just like, I don't know, when I look at this stuff, I feel it's just sadness.
Yeah.
And because like even back in the day, I did like a no filter project where I asked women of all bodies to just like send in a photo and like send one thing they love about themselves, but like don't edit it.
Don't edit it.
And I really wish that would have taken off. So I'm like manifesting, like would love for that to take off.
Yeah.
Because like, because if that could be like a global, like we have global freaking like pizza day, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like what about a no filter day?
Yeah.
And like we all show up authentic, real, whatever.
Yeah.
And just like rock it together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We all do it collectively.
Well, yeah. Like, and so it doesn't feel so much pressure just on you to have to do it and whatever. And I don't know. It's just it's so crazy to me that the things that trend and the things that don't and, whatever. But I kind of have learned to expect it. But that's where it's like, that means that our light just has to shine even brighter in those situations.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, so you were probably like me, like put on a lot of like diets and stuff.
Yeah.
Like coming up.
I've definitely yo-yoed my whole life.
Yeah. So, when we look back at that, was there a time like, so this is something that I always try to think about too. Like, was there a time where you did feel like your best? And like, what was that like, or like, let's even think about this. The best moment you've had so far on your journey, like with the voice, or it could be, maybe when you got married, whatever.
Yeah.
Like when you remember that moment, do you think about how you looked in that moment, or do you think about how you felt in that moment?
Yeah, I mean, definitely you think about how you feel.
Yeah.
You're not looking, that's the point, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
for those listening,
at the time,
yes.
you were so worried about the way you looked.
Right.
And then after the fact, you're like, you don't even remember that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something important because I know you're going to have a lot of things coming up and like special things. So I really want you to like stay grounded in that. And like, and guys, I'm talking to Megan right now, but I'm talking to all of you. Let's just like be clear. This is for every single one of you listening. This is not just about Megan. She's just representing right now, like, for the community and stuff. But no, so I think that, it's been cool to watch your confidence grow and just like see how your strength has been, thriving and everything. And you get more creative and when you feel better and everything. And so I love that. And I think that again, too, with being in the platform that you're on, it's so much pressure. So, and I kind of deal with that on another different, level, but I sometimes feel like the whole, like not being good enough, but it has nothing to do with like my body really. Like, cause like, I'm like, let's vibe with it, whatever. But like, no matter what, like, I'm just happy that, I'm happy I can move. I'm happy that
Yeah.
I can change however I see fit. That I can put on muscle and be heavier and whatever, but I can like, rock that. Or I can be super small and do a bodybuilding show. Like my body's incredible.
Yeah.
And it's shown up for me in the times when it really probably shouldn't have. The fact that my leg works, the fact that like I can see right now, for the most part. Like, so I try to look at those things, right?
Yeah.
And so, let's talk about that real quick. Oh, I knew I was going to forget this. Tell them, because we're talking about mindset.
Yeah.
So we're talking about like, on how, to deal with like in the light of like not feeling good enough, right? But pause, because this girl went like all over the news for something that happened.
Yeah.
Tell them what happened. I'm terrified.
Oh, Lord.
I'm terrified.
In 2017, I was bit on the face by a brown recluse spider. So
I can't.
like right underneath my eye, like right in here. I know it's bad.
No, but they know that I'm like not nature.
No, listen, I wasn't either. Okay. Like, I was like, if you didn't ask me what my worst fear was before that happened, I would have said being bit in my sleep on the face by a spider. Like that would have been at the top of my list.
Bruh. You're just in your house.
I was just sleeping.
Just like, yeah.
Oh, it's
no,
the
but
worst.
Listen to this. So, so this happens, but it was like, brown recluse, like are poisonous.
Well, yeah, they're like very, very venomous. Yes.
Okay, yeah. So there's that. Secondly, which I didn't realize, but I mean, like they had, like it was a huge.
Oh yeah, it was a huge hole. It was like, 1% of people deal with necrosis with brown recluse spider bite. So of course I'm in the 1%.
Right.
And it takes 10 days for the venom to go through your bloodstream. It's a whole roller coaster.
And it can change the makeup of your like blood, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's like there's so many things about this that I never wanted to know, and now I know everything.
She's basically part like Spider Woman.
I
so
kind of like that's the upside. That's what I'm
Oh!
going with, is that I'm actually just like a superhero now.
Yeah.
But I kind of am, because like to go through like the things that I went through with that bite, it was absolutely insane. Like I'm talking like every day a new symptom. I thought I was like, I don't know if I thought I was going to die, but I was definitely scared. Like I was in and out of the hospital like several times, and the necrosis didn't even start for like 10 days after the bite. Okay. So like it just kept getting darker and darker.
So can you tell them what like necrosis is?
It's like when it's basically the tissue dies.
Yeah.
So like it started to die. It was just getting darker and darker and darker until eventually, it starts to become almost like this big. It was huge. It took up like a big space under my eye.
I Googled it when you told me this, because I was like, hold on, I gotta look this up. And you were like, yeah, look it up. And I was like, it was
bad.
I just felt so deeply for you in that moment, because literally the reason I think we started talking about this again was because I said, hey, do you have a good skin person? Because I had like a skin, I don't even know what it was. They said it was just like buildup or whatever, but like it wasn't like a cyst, I guess. But anyway, but it was like right here in the middle of my freaking forehead where I had like all my hormonal stuff, right? Okay, and this thing is like you could not see it. For the naked eye, like nobody could see it, but I could feel it. It was like a mass, so I'm like freaking out, right? And then she tells me this, and I look at the picture and I'm like, perspective. Like, chill the freak out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and so, okay, so when you had that, like how much like, you had to go through laser. Because people watching are seeing your beautiful skin right now. Like, and so like, no way it was that bad. You can look it up.
You can Google it.
Like
it was everywhere. Like my pictures went viral. It was nuts. Just because probably because I'm like the only person that would post this shit. Like I didn't care. I was like,
I'm so glad that you did. Because it's like, I don't know how often people get bit by spiders and stuff, but you hear about it like on their leg, their arm, whatever. But the mental strength, like I want you to tell them to go through that. Was it just like, let me get through this, like put my head down, like, or you said you talked about it, like how are you feeling? Because as women, we can hide a lot with stuff, okay, with like makeup and with our spray tans, and right?
Yeah, there was no hiding this.
Yeah, like literally.
Yeah, there was no hiding it. Honestly, you just get when you're in that moment though, and you're going through all the other physical part of it, like to where it was like, it was honestly I've been through a lot. Trust me, like I had endometriosis, I had surgery for that. I've been through a lot of things and a lot of pain, and this was by far the most painful thing that's ever happened to me. Yeah. Like just the pain alone was the worst the worst ever. But then just like also like there was pressure behind my eye and they were worried about my vision. There was like I had this huge welt that showed up on my throat several days later and then welts all over my body. Like it was just constantly something I was dealing with as far as like physical symptoms.
Yeah.
So it was like, honestly, like I don't even think I was nearly as worried about my appearance in that moment because I was just trying to survive. Like I feel like your perspective does change when you're going through that because you're like, okay, like it because your looks do take a back seat.
Yes.
To your health and just being alive.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Right. And that's where I kind of think about it, like not to discredit how we feel on a regular basis, but I always try to put a perspective of like that you are lucky enough to complain about your body.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's people who would give anything, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's not to compare or anything like that and like different struggles and whatever. It's just simply saying that fact.
Yeah.
That like, for example, like with my leg and stuff, like I haven't even been thinking about my leg because of my eye. And then like I haven't really been thinking about my eye because of the internal stuff. So it's like, you know what I mean? And that's where I've always tried to, like, I've taken all these pictures and things like that because I want to look back and remember how I felt. Because when I look at it, I know that I gave 100% in those moments and like showed up for it and did the things and whatever because it pains me when I see so many times people look back at things and they're like, oh, I was, like you said, like I was beautiful. Then why was I so hard on myself?
Yeah,
and
like I just love myself then.
Yeah. And that's, but again, too, someone's probably listening to this that's 70 years old, 70 or whatever. And they're like, you know what? Maybe I'm going to start loving myself now.
Right.
So it's like, again, it's like, yeah, I wish I could go back when I was like 12 or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
But like, you're in it now.
Yeah.
You're actively working on it.
What's happening right now.
Yes. And like, which I think is beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I hate that happened. I cannot still believe that happened to you. But when you went through all the stuff with the facial and everything like that, how long did that take? Was that like years? Was that months? Was that?
I mean, I was really lucky. I found a great she's a wound care specialist in North Carolina, but she I went there. Like I went to see her because it was so hard to find anybody that A, was like taking me seriously. B, it was not that they weren't taking it seriously. They just didn't know what to do.
Right.
Because it's like so unprecedented. Like people don't deal with it on their face really. And I don't know.
Yeah.
So she kind of was willing to experiment with me. And so I went there and she actually put me in hyperbaric chamber.
Yes. Okay.
And she was like, I don't know if this is even going to work, but she was like, you're so healthy, which is another testament to just being healthy all the time. Because
so that when stuff hits the fan,
you have that going for you, right?
Yes.
So I was pretty healthy, luckily. And she was like, I'm going to put you in there and I bet you're going to do really well with it. And it literally like took months off of the healing process for me.
That's fantastic. I love that so much.
It helped so much. And, obviously I had laser treatments and all kinds of stuff to just resurface my skin.
Yeah.
But I mean, the body's crazy. I mean, it will
fight for you.
It will fight for you and it will come back. Like,
yeah.
Nothing's totally permanent. I think you can, your skin regenerates. Like,
right. Well, apparently your liver, everyone's been telling me, can like regrow and stuff.
Can.
And I was like, sick, awesome, like great.
It can.
Yeah. But it really is like that. Like, and it is amazing and incredible. And that's where like, I try to, with my affirmations daily of like being thankful and praying for that. So, I pray over you guys and like, want everyone to feel their best, throughout. But it definitely puts in perspective. So with the endometriosis, I do want to talk about that because we've had several women on here. I mean, several that have all had endometriosis and like, from local celebrities to just my clients to whoever and all different ages, all different sizes, all different bodies,
all different bodies.
Somehow it's starting to like pick up.
Yeah, I'm glad.
And like people are starting to talk about it. And so I wanted to ask, like with yours, you said you had surgeries.
I had surgery last November.
Yes. Okay.
Which honestly, like when I started working out with you, that was another goal. Like I was like, I want to be as healthy as I can possibly be before I go into the surgery.
Yeah.
Because I knew it was going to be a journey to recover.
Right. And I mean, you had a pretty like decent recovery, right? Like, was it?
It was pretty decent. It was harder than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
But I also like expect a lot out of my, like, I want to be doing stuff like 2 days after a major surgery because that's just how I work. So like if I'm not able to like get up and go do everything I'm used to doing, I I'm like, oh, it was really hard. But I mean, yes, it was pretty relative to what it was.
Yeah, because you only took a couple weeks like for movement, you know, and that was only because like, they told you. Like,
they're like, you cannot.
Right. And so, you were right back in it.
Yeah.
So, you know, with endometriosis, just kind of for people listening, let them know what that is.
So it's like growths basically on your, you know, mine. It can go I mean, I have a friend who just had a surgery and she had it all over her lungs. So, I mean, it can go it can go all the way up in your chest cavity. But for me, it was mostly on like my uterus and my ovaries.
Okay.
And those areas. But, it's interesting.
Do you think that this is because a lot of my girls, they were telling me about the most recently about endometriosis, the ages are like 25 to like 40, okay, that have had like the surgeries, right? And I feel like we all were put on birth control.
We were, yeah.
And the depot shot and all that. Is there any correlation? Does anyone care to even look at that? Like,
I don't know. It's hard to know, you know, because I was on and off of birth control as a kid. Like, and honestly, I initially went on it very young because I was having such horrible periods. Which, in hindsight, maybe I was having endo then. Yeah, you know, they also use it. I mean, they like wanted me to go on it after surgery. I didn't, but they wanted me to go on it because they think it helps it not grow. Yeah. So I don't know. You know, it's hard to know. I do think there's like I could go into a whole freaking rampage about our food and like what's in it and just like our environment now, and like I think all of that has a role to play.
Yes, no, it definitely does. And I mean, it's crazy, man, because before so my client Katie, like she has a garden, you know, she'd been bringing me vegetables, all right, and your girl had some like trauma when she was younger about green beans, the whole thing. Yeah. And then started eating them again for like, you know, my preps and my stuff and whatever. And like, it just was like nothing. It was like water. And when she got me these green beans, I looked at this, I was like, what is this? Like, what? Okay. Like, and I ate one and I was like, bruh, this is just like so good.
It's so good.
And I was just like, this is refreshing. I feel good. And I'm like, yeah, like this is great. And like then when I would reheat like the other meals I had that had the other store bought green beans, they'd just be water. Like it would just turn into water. I'm like, there's nothing in this.
There's nothing in it.
Literally. Yeah. And I'm like, no wonder I'm not getting the things
the nutrients you need out of it.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just stuff that you don't think about when you just go to the store and you buy organic. Right. And you pay the extra money.
Well, and you think you're getting something organic, and who really knows? Right. You know, it's like, I don't know. I don't buy it.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to ask you. Do you go to the farmer's market? Do you do that kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm lucky because I'm in 12 South, so we have the farmer's market weekly, like during the summer. So I will go down there and buy stuff. Yeah. I mean, look, I'm not perfect.
But like you got, like you go check it out.
When I can, I do. You know, you do it. You just try to do the best you can because that's all you can do. Right. But yeah, I definitely like think it's like an issue with food. I mean, I'm like on this journey now to heal my gut because like I've had all the blood work and the tests done and like have figured out like my deficiencies and all this stuff. Like I just went really into it,
which is great,
which is good.
Yes, yeah. Because the more knowledge we have, the more overwhelming. But it's at least then we can start dissecting that and realize like, okay, it could be a subtle change, it could be a whole lifestyle change. Yeah, but like.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I was allergic to that I've had to cut out of my diet. And I'm like, you know, and I'm just on this journey now to try to figure it all out and to heal myself and to just feel my absolute best. That's the goal, you know?
And I think that so many people though, like, and I know you say it so like nonchalantly like that, but like so many people aren't doing that. Yeah. And they don't want to because it is work. Yeah. It's work. It is hard. And it's like, you know, I sit there and think about that a lot because sometimes I'm like, you know, I don't know, sometimes you just get on like autopilot, you know, with stuff or whatever. Yeah. And then when you really look at it, you're like, wait, oh, my water has harsh chemicals in it. I'm so over it. Like
so many things.
Literally, but like nobody like ever mentioned that to me. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And even like with my medication, they said, like, okay, so one of my clients has the same thing that I have with autoimmune stuff, and she takes the medicine, and she's like, well, I only take this when it flares up and like this amount. She goes, how much are you taking? And I told her, she's a nurse, so I told her the milligrams or whatever, and she was like, no, that's a gram. Yeah. And I was like, So I'm taking a gram a day. And my dyslexic ass thought it was a milligram.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Literally, I read the bottle, mg.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh, like 1. Like, that's not bad. No, it's 1 gram. So you're telling me, okay, she doesn't even take, not to, again, to compare, but like she said that when she's a flare up, she's taking 800. She's taking double, 800 milligrams, which is still less than my every
day
for like just a normal, like, right?
Right.
So then when I messaged the doctor about that, they said, because they tired of me calling, so I just messaged them directly. I said, oh my gosh. But anyway, I said something like, I said, hey, like, oh no, your medicine doesn't come in a different dosage. That's the lowest one. And I was like, I know somebody that's got it like this. And he was like, oh, that's technically like a different medication. But like, yeah, that's a lower dose. So I'm like,
yeah,
bro, I'm not sponsored by this medication.
Right.
I just need to know a different, but you have to ask.
No, you have to advocate
How would I have ever known that?
Yeah, you wouldn't.
You told me I got the lowest dose.
Yeah.
And also, which could be messing up with my liver, which I know that's what this is. So that's why I'm like waiting to like go back and like prove to them. Cause they're like, well, we have to have definitively that it is that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'll definitively tell you in like a few weeks.
Right.
So, which is fine. But I'm like, then put me on a different thing. Their solution was, okay, just stop taking the medicine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like now cold turkey after you've been on it for so long.
Right. But also, and for those listening, they don't know that when I stop taking the medicine, my eyesight risks getting scarred every time if I have a stress flare up.
Yeah.
So let's say somebody cuts me off in traffic, I get a little worked up. Okay, maybe my eye shuts, I have a scar, and then every single time that happens, I lose part of my vision.
Yeah.
So no, I can't just stop taking it.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's just, and again, if anyone's listening to this, it's like a naturopath and wants to come through and like talk about more things. Like I'm open to it.
You're down, yeah.
I am not that person that's so like rigid with the things.
No.
I am just so disciplined in things that like, if you tell me to drink this much water a day, like I'll
just do it. Yeah.
If you tell me to do whatever. So I just have like been like blindly following in suit too early to laugh about that, but like to like in suit of those things.
Yeah.
When you have to advocate for yourself. And it wasn't until I saw my client struggling with all of these things. And like, one of my other clients that that has endometriosis, like you've met, like she like has had to continually
fight.
Yeah.
For your health care.
And I'm like, this is absurd.
Same. I know.
Like absurd.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
And they're just now taking me seriously about me not having a cycle for 2 years.
Yeah.
Just now. And it's only because these one test results like showed, like this like was up or whatever. And I'm like, I've been asking about this for 2 years.
Yeah.
And you just simply said it was my lifestyle.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous because there are other bodybuilders and there are other people that are way dieting harder and like doing other things that like have cycles. Mm-hmm. So like that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But I just took it as like, okay, well, like, okay, I asked. Mm-hmm. Got it. Noted. Yeah. And so anyway, so I guess like with all of that, like with the endometriosis, I got off topic, but like with that, do you feel more relief? Was it worth it to you?
I think so. It's hard to know. Like it takes your body so long to adapt after you have a surgery like that.
Yeah.
I feel like they say even like a whole year.
Right.
But I have noticed improvement for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I definitely am not in like pain every day like I used to be. And
which is great.
I feel like the pain is not as much maybe during my cycle now, which is nice. But yeah, it's a journey, know, like,
did you, cause for some people like with endometriosis, I mean, I've been told it's harder for them to conceive. Mm-hmm. Is that something that they told you like, hey, even after surgery, it's going to be more difficult? Or
they said it would be, I think before she was like, oh, no wonder you can't conceive. And then like after the surgery, they thought it would be easier. I don't know. I'm also, getting older. So who knows with that.
Hey girl, I mean, I just saw, this is so weird. I saw this like granny on TikTok. Do you know what I'm talking about, that woman? And she's having a baby.
I'm like, it's crazy. I mean, anything's possible. Look, I'm just like,
I was shook.
Yeah.
I was shook. I was like, what's everybody like? I don't know. But also I will say that I had a client who, she worked with me for years and then like, she had moved. And so we don't work together anymore, but, she just had twins and she's 40.
Yeah. It can happen.
Yeah. I mean, and everything is good and she's in good health. But I mean, but again, she continue to have a healthy lifestyle after we stopped working together. Like,
yeah,
and
so much of it is just that, and like advocating for yourself, like you said, and like knowing your body, like so
Yeah.
you know when something's off.
right. And I think that the only way that you can know when things are off is truly when you live a healthy lifestyle, because like that's the more in tune that you get, and then you can kind of understand and be like, oh, okay, let me
Right.
see. Okay, so The Voice. Okay, I wasn't even watching it. Like, I'm gonna be real with you. I wasn't in, but my mama, like Vicky was
She
in
likes
it,
it,
especially
yeah.
because I lived with her, with them, up until I got the influencership at Connect in 2020. So like she was all about it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's why when I had mentioned she's like, oh, I got to go back and like see, or
Yeah.
whatever. And which is so cool. So tell me what the experience was like, because you already said you had like had a hit song, you have been doing all these things, been kind of crushing it. So did you feel like, that you had like creative freedom at all? Where you kind of just like, I gotta be like, this is militant, I gotta do what they say I gotta do. Like, how was it?
It was interesting. It was, it's very, obviously it's like a crazy, like it's very nerve wracking. Like
Yeah.
just even walking out there for the blind audition is terrifying. But I think it was, I kind of knew what to expect,
Yeah.
obviously, because like I had been through it, which I think
Right.
was actually good. Also knowing what to expect probably like wasn't great either, just because
Right.
I was like, okay, I've already like done things. People know me. Like if I don't get a chair
Yeah.
to turn around, like, is my career over? You know what I mean?
Oh, how much pressure?
I feel like it was a
would
lot
that
of
be?
it was a lot of pressure, because I feel like if nobody knows you and you do it, you can come back and do it again.
Yes.
If you do it and people know who you are,
Wow, I didn't even think about it like that.
like, so that was my biggest fear. And honestly, they waited until my very last note to turn around.
Well, okay, who are the three?
It was well, the judges at the time were Pharrell, Christina Aguilera, Adam, and Blake.
Okay.
So, and I got 3 chairs, so Blake didn't turn around initially.
Blake. Okay. Got it.
He didn't turn around initially, but I was on his team later, but
You're like, I made it still. Like,
it's fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was just like, God, I mean, I was up there just like freaking out, honestly. Like, I just
Yeah.
kept singing hard. I'm like, do I need to sing more? Do I need to sing harder? Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like,
You
what
gave
can
it
I do?
your all.
And
Yeah.
I finally turned around.
What song did you sing?
I did Love Hurts.
Okay.
Which is like it's an old throwback. Honestly, you get like a list of songs and you have to pick like your top
Okay.
30.
And then they tell you.
Yeah. And then they picked like my 29th pick was the one they picked for
Wow.
me. So, but I love that song. So I was like,
Yeah.
I can do this, So I just had to figure out how to like, work that song.
If you were to tell people what kind of style your music is, because I don't know how to explain you.
I know,
like
it's
truthfully,
weird.
I
I know.
don't, but I love it. Like it's beautiful, and so I just don't. But how would you describe it?
I mean, I feel like my newer stuff is like more like soulful Americana pop.
Yes.
I don't know. It's weird. Like
Yeah.
I have a lot of influences, and I think that's been my biggest struggle is like I've always like I don't like to be put in a box,
Yeah.
musically or any other way.
Nope, I get it.
So that's always been hard for me, but I don't know. That's the I kind of can go any way I want to go musically, I feel like, but I love the storytelling in country music. That's kind of what drew me to it.
Okay.
That's why I moved here.
Yeah.
I love to tell a story in a song. And I also I was always inspired by like powerful women singers. Like that's what I listened to. And I always wanted to have a little bit of grit in my voice and a little growl and like be able to like really like hit notes like powerfully. That was always my goal as
Yeah.
a singer.
Who's the number one if you had to pick, like that you look up to?
I don't know if there's a number one. There's like a few, like I feel like I listened to a lot of Tanya Tucker growing up.
Okay.
I always thought she was super cool. Tina Turner, Whitney
Yeah.
Houston, Celine Dion. Like
Yeah.
it's all like super powerhouse
Yes.
women,
Right.
like and powerful in different ways, but
Yeah.
like powerful all the same.
Right. I know. I loved it because your show at what was the place I went to? Electric Jane.
Electric Jane. Yeah.
Yeah, you had like what was your band? Like they were like they were like trumpets and stuff.
Yeah,
like
I had a horn section. That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had I had drums and bass and guitar and
Yeah.
keys and 2 horn players.
It genuinely, and I'm not just saying this because she's my client, genuinely, I had never heard like a voice like yours. You know what I mean?
Thanks.
And like, and it just, I don't know. And I don't know singing well. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like for me, like I can't really, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like the terms and stuff you mean?
Yeah. And just like in all of that. But also when people were like, oh yeah, they're a singer or whatever, I'm like, okay, like I just kind of take it for like whatever. But when I heard you sing and you sang that song Alien, you know, I'm like sitting there like crying, you know, in the freaking audience, whatever, with my best friend, and we're just kind of like holding hands, and it was like a beautiful moment for us.
I love that
because we don't get to spend a lot of time together, you know, and I thankfully she got to come with me and stuff, and you know, we're just sitting there, and it just felt like somebody got it. You know, somebody understood, and how you sang it was just so beautiful.
Thank you.
And so anyway, so all that to say, it's like I don't know a lot about singing, but like I know about feeling.
Yeah,
and
that's all you have to know,
right? And that was what. And in that moment, I felt just yeah. So that was really special. So thank you again for inviting us, and it was super cool, and I loved it.
That's cool.
But yeah,
that's the goal. The goal is always to make you cry.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I don't really cry. I mean, you know, I'm a little emotional, but like you know, again, it was just, it kind of took me back. So I'm trying to, you know, I was over here like LYB, like I'm like, you know, hyping you up and stuff. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, like we in it. Man, it was really great. I think
too, like when we're going back to like songwriting, like I think when you write things that are like real and authentic and like things you actually are feeling, like people know, like they can tell the difference between that or like chasing a trend or trying to write something that sounds like this hit song. Right. You know, and I kind of gave up on that a long time ago. Like I still do a little bit of that when I'm doing film and TV pitches and stuff. But like for my own music, like I honestly like I'll write these songs like in the bathtub at midnight in like an hour. And like, those are the things I feel like that resonate the most with other people because they're the most real. Right. It's like, everybody's felt like that.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like, they almost like put you like at a disadvantage to move forward because you are so real and authentic with stuff? Mm-hmm. Because that's how I feel a lot of times.
I feel like that all the time because I'm not willing to like conform. I'm not willing to like try to like be, you know, another this or another that. I'm like, no, this is just like what I do. Yes. And this is how I do it. And yeah, it's definitely I feel like it has put me at a disadvantage at times. Yeah. Like I don't know. Even with The Voice, I remember like being in a meeting with like the record label because they put you like once you get to a certain point in the show, like you're in, you know, these meetings with the label because they're going to sign somebody. Yeah. And I just remember him being like the head of the label was like, just remember like this show is called The Voice. It's not called The Songwriter. So I know you guys think you write songs, but you know, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, and I remember being so sassy to this man when I had to sit down and meet him. And I was like, just so you know, I was like, I am a songwriter. Yeah. I said, I have had a publishing deal. I was like, I had a song cut by Beyonce. Like, I'm like, I'm not just a singer. Yeah. So I was like, I'm just letting you know. Yeah. And he was like, okay, well, I guess we're done. Like, I mean, he didn't even want to talk to me. And I mean, and definitely would not be interested in signing me because I'm not easy to deal with. Not that I am easy to deal with, but
you're not. I'm not easy conforming.
Conforming.
Yes. And just like a puppet. Like, I'll do whatever you say to do. Yeah. He knew that you would actually have an opinion.
Right. And like, exactly. And as soon as they think you might have an opinion, that changes the whole thing.
Ugh, I hate that. But I do love that. You know, I hate that you had to deal with that, but I do love that you found other ways to adapt and overcome. Yeah. You know?
You have to. And honestly, for me, it's just been doing it myself. Like, okay, like, you don't want to book me for this? I'll just create my own thing. Yes. Oh, you don't want to like do this for me? Cool. I'll just start my own label. Right. I'll start my own freaking studio. I'll do, you know, it's like, that's how I've always been. I guess in that sense, like we were talking about that earlier, like, I guess I have always been like that. Yeah. I'm always like, okay, if you don't want to do it, I will figure out a way to do it.
Do you think that came from like with your parents? Did you see that modeled kind of that work ethic and stuff?
I feel like with my mom, especially because my mom grew up like dirt poor. Like, you know, like I think she had several brothers and sisters and like in a 2-room house with nothing. Yeah. And like she, you know, I'm talking like not even having food at times. And like, you know, she, you know, worked several jobs to get her way through nursing school and like got out of that situation and like made a better life for like, you know, me and my brother and my sisters. And so I do think like a lot of that, you know, persistence and like probably comes from, you know, knowing her story and like seeing that modeled.
I love that. That's awesome.
It's cool.
It is cool because again, I think that, that's where when people ask me about that, I mean, I would always see my mom working, you know?
Yeah.
So like she'd always go on schedule. So like I then created schedules.
Yeah.
Like literally 5 years old with like a schedule
Yeah.
of summer. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and some people would be like, that's crazy, whatever. But like, that's just how I've always been. And that's how I've operated. And like my dad's such a hard worker. So like, I love that they modeled that.
Yeah.
Maybe to the extreme,
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
when we try to take it to the extreme. But I do want to go back on that with, you know, with being that kind of entrepreneur and that mindset, whatever. We talked about the whole like being good enough. Like, what is some way that you genuinely deal with like, do you feel good enough when you book a gig and then like you get that high and then you kind of go down to that low? Because like we've always talked about on here with me, like of the highs and the lows. Like, do you deal with that as well?
Oh
like,
yeah. And there's like, I joke about it, but it's actually like a real thing. There's like this post reality show depression that happens, I think, because you're on such a high for so many weeks and you're on TV every week and you have high production and like all these things that like, as an indie artist, you're not going out with like, a symphony, you know, and like a stage set and all this stuff. And so there's like that was like a super high. And then like coming off of that and like, what's next? Like that to me was like, I felt very down. And then, you know, and I feel like that all this, it's so up and down. It's so feast or famine. It's so like, okay, I have, you know, this thing going on this week and then I might not have anything for a couple of weeks. And like, you're like, during those times, I'm like, oh, what am I doing? Like, am I doing the right thing?
Right.
Should I still be here?
It makes you question it.
It makes you question, like, if you're even like, if you even belong.
Yeah.
You're like, should I stick it out? Like, I've had so many of those moments.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's very normal though.
Yeah.
You know, like I think that's just part of it.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's just like there's not something you can really like get away with in the industries that we are in. You know what I mean? Because it is that like, you know, doing these things and being creative and like I said, we're going to get that rooftop thing together like that. We're going to do that. Like, because it's again, we don't want to wait around for other people just to make it happen.
No,
it's
you create it, you know, build it and they'll come. It's like, it's your responsibility, honestly. Like if you want to see something happen, just make it happen.
Right. And I think that, and to listen to that intuition, you know, and listen to like, cause like you said, like you knew like, this is a sign, like I need to like call this woman back, you know?
Yeah, you have to just like, I always notice that if I like, that's the thing, like you were talking about earlier, it's like, you can't like, I can't ever make anything happen.
Yeah.
Like when I try to make
you force it.
You can actually thirst yourself out of opportunities, I think. Like I say that a lot, but I think like some people are just so desperate that they're just like, they almost repel the thing that they want.
Yes.
You know, and I've been there like in my career when I was younger.
Yeah.
But I think like there is a beauty in just like knowing your worth, knowing what you're good at, finding your peace, and then things come.
Yeah.
You know,
I love that. I think that's so great. And it is, again, I know everyone listening, they're like rolling their eyes. They're like, yeah, we know this. But it's like, it really is that because even when I've like with relationships, when I've like to force things,
doesn't happen.
Well, we've seen how that's, you know, planned out. So we hear.
Yeah.
But seriously, because it's just like, and even the other day I was like, I think I'm gonna like sign up for like Christian Mingle. And I was like, no. I literally looked at it and I was like, card was about to like approve. I was like, no. Like I was like, that's not what God is saying for me to do.
Yeah.
Like I know something. That's me being impatient. That's me being like, well, maybe I should be this or that or whatever. It's like, stop the nonsense. Like that's not real. That's a narrative. That's like the devil. That's like demons, like sitting, you know, just in the back of your head and telling you, you know, that like,
you know, I mean, that's the thing. Like, you know, in your gut when something is right or wrong. And if something's like too like hard, sometimes I know things are hard, but you know what I mean? Like when you have so many obstacles, sometimes it's like, maybe this isn't the right thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just feel like I feel like we know, you know, it's like a weird thing,
but it's
like,
just trusting that
to trust. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, like, you're right. Like people do roll their eyes at that, but it's like, it's genuine though. It's real.
Yeah. If you just would wait, if you would keep going, like I didn't know about the Connect thing was so beautiful when she reached out because like, I genuinely just kept saying, I'm not going to pay to live in Nashville. I was like, I'm not going to pay. and everyone's like, okay, Danny, like you're gonna live with your parents forever. And I was like, but I was also rebuilding my relationship, like we used to have strong relationships with them. Like, so it was a beautiful time that we got to spend together, especially even with COVID, like that getting delayed, like because we had never had that before. So it was a beautiful time in that. And then like to then see and it like all go to fruition, it's like, yeah, like I couldn't force that to happen.
Right.
And if I would have tried, then maybe I would have gotten myself in a hole and then wouldn't have been able to do that.
Right.
You know, so I think that goes along with, I know a lot of my people that listen, you know, who are single and things like, you know, when you feel like when you were going out after that, you know, hard experience with your ex. And then like before Tyler, like I know you've talked about this with me. I want to briefly touch on it. Like you weren't looking and he was very respectable. Right. And he was just like,
yeah, he was great.
Yeah. Like
I just thought he was funny. Like I remember going in the studio and meeting him and just thinking like, oh, we really hit it off. Like we get along really well. But like, I wasn't trying to date anybody at the time.
Yeah.
You know, and he was very like, I don't know. I felt like he was patient in a way with me. That I had never experienced before. He was also just like super, I don't know. I've never been like in a relationship where I was treated like good. Yeah. At that point.
Right.
You know, and I don't know. We like, he takes me as I am and like he lets me be independent and have my space and do my thing. And like I had never had that before. And it's great. Like I need that. You know, like and I do the same for him. Like it's just very mutual. But it's nice.
No, it seems like a beautiful like partnership from what I've seen.
Definitely.
And because I was like, Alexis, that's her husband, you know, and she was like, wait, what? I was like, and he was just like playing, and he's just like so happy to be there. You know what I mean? Like just so cool. Yeah. And I was just like supports me like no one else. Like that's the thing I didn't have in my previous relationship. It was always like he was always kind of like almost like dimming my light. Yes. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because he didn't want me to be too much of a star. It's like a rope. And it's like, pull back. Pull back. You're too much. Yeah. And Tyler doesn't do that to me at all. Well, like and that comes from insecurities. That comes from their own projections and things like that. Because again, you could be like, quote unquote, like too much, but like for the right person, it's enough. Like enough. It's not
the right amount.
Exactly. Yeah. So what is something, because we're going to kind of wrap up, I have a couple questions. So what is something like, I guess the thing that you like, no strings attached, could go do like right now. And you'd be like, this is like my dream.
Oh man, I just want to be on tour. I'm dying to get out and play shows again. Yeah. Like I've just been kind of in this cocoon phase where I'm like writing and in the studio and I'm doing corporate events and like I'm still playing out at things, but like I'd love to just be on a tour. Like I've talked about wanting to be out with like Teddy Swims or somebody like that opening. Like that's a dream. Yeah. Yeah, and I would love to be doing festivals next year.
Hey, okay.
You know,
I love that.
That's kind of where I'm at right now is like trying to figure out, okay, I need a booking agent. Like I need to be out playing shows.
I love that.
And I'm ready. Like I'm ready for that.
Yeah. Well, and also you've been spending time working on yourself.
Right.
And that's what's been, you know, again, you know, I hope everyone listening is like actually listening to that like, it's not like she's saying like, okay, I'm jumping from this thing to this thing, this thing. Like she's having a base of a routine, a regimen, eating more food throughout the day, right? Like I know my entrepreneurs, my mom's listening, people like that don't eat but one time a day.
Yeah, that's what I was doing before.
Right. Which is crazy to me.
Not eating breakfast.
And like now you're waking up and like, oh, I'm hungry. Like, okay, I want to eat some breakfast. Like I want to try to have more protein. I'm focusing on these goals. Like, like doing these markers, like getting the hormones in check, like all these things. Yeah. And like, that's why like, you know, God's preparing you for those opportunities. Right. But he knows that when you're ready, like
they'll come. Yeah,
exactly.
And I've been patient. So
yes, I love that. It's so special.
I feel good about it.
So the other thing I was going to say is, what is like something that you wish that, you know, you would have, you're good. What is something that you wish that you would have like coming up in the singing world, like known beforehand, or maybe like not trusted someone, or like, you know, was there any situation like that?
I mean, definitely. Like I feel like especially in like my previous group with my ex, like just like not allowing someone to make me feel small. Yeah. And standing up I would stand up for myself now. Yeah. Now I do. You know, I think that's why I'm so like, I love doing the things at the Hall of Fame with like the young girls and stuff. Cause I'm just like, oh, I see so much of me and you. And like, I want it to be better for you.
Yes.
You know, like I don't want you to have to deal with what I dealt with.
Yeah.
I also like even just in the music industry with like, you know, with men, and like dealing with men and having like a lot of, you know, experiences that weren't great there. It's like there's just a lot I would have done different.
Right.
But I was so young, and you can't blame yourself for that either.
Right.
Because you're just like,
you
don't know what you don't know. And you know, it's, I don't know. It's, you have to go through it to learn.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot.
I mean, that's great. That's what's brought you here and all your success so far. And I mean, it's amazing to watch and watch you continually grow. And you just, like I said, you have a beautiful energy about you. And it's always been really cool, like I said, to just, you know, even hear you talk about things and how you light up. And I'm like, like she gets it because like, it is like that. Like people don't understand when like you have to like grind for yourself and on your own. Like, and again, like someone could be like, oh, well, she's got like a husband or whatever. It's like, but you've been like doing this. Like again, and y'all are a team effort in that too.
Right.
And so it's cool. And like, you're always thinking of like the next opportunity or the whatever it is, you know? Which I like.
And that is a thing too. Like with women, it's so funny to me. Like when people are like, oh, well, they're married and their husband this and their husband, and that's a thing.
Yeah,
it's a
I know,
real
it's a
thing.
yeah.
And it's like, dude, like when we met, like Tyler was just playing guitar on the road, like he, you know, and then like I was just trying to figure myself out too. And it's like we built this together, and it's like we're really good. We're a really good team. We do, you know, we have different strengths, and like we've just made it work. So
I love that. Yeah. It's like the dream team for sure. And he's so kind.
Well, he's
like,
the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't. Yeah.
I love that. So ladies, like, they're out there.
Don't settle.
Yeah.
They're out there. I promise.
Don't settle. And then of course I have to ask you, you knew it was coming.
Oh no,
What? Because we're going to get onto our Patreon episode after this. So we'll do that for a little bit. But I was going to ask, what is something that you love about your body?
Oh gosh.
It could even be just today. Like, was there something where you like, got ready and you're like, oh, like it doesn't have to be like, you know, something you always love or anything like that.
I mean, I actually like my shape.
Yes, I
do.
hear that. Yes,
I do.
Yes, I'm so glad to hear you say that. Do you know how many people? I mean, again, their stuff is irrelevant, but that tell me daily, they're like, man, Megan's shape is just beautiful. Her curves, like I wish I had curves like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
that's sweet.
But it's real. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that is where it's that whole thing of like, my best friend growing up had straight hair. Okay, I had naturally curly lioness hair. I always wanted her hair. She always wanted my hair.
Yeah.
It's always, you know, and so for you, it could be like, but like I see that person, like really wish that I had their friend. Like, but when you rock it and like, and I've seen you rocking it lately, like in your outfits and stuff. And I'm like, yes, like, and it's so great to see, you know, and, cause you're giving those curves for a reason. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And embrace it.
Yeah, exactly. And you are strong. You've proven that with everything that we've been doing and stuff, working together. And again, we can always be better. We can always, you know,
there's plenty of things that I don't like, but we won't get into all that. You know?
Yeah, but like that's what I'm saying. It's like even just finding that is huge. And I mean, would you have said that a year ago that you would have been able to say that?
I don't know. No, probably not. You know, it changes, you know, daily. But but I have been noticed, like I've been more okay with it, like especially since we started working. That was another part of like why I you know, working out with you was so important to me, because it is like a body positivity you know, movement, which is nice because I don't feel like all trainers are that way. Like it'll be like they're not. Yeah. It's like you know, your like goal is to look a certain way. And so with you, it's been great because I'm just like learning to just love myself where I'm at and, you know, to just trying to improve, you know, myself, like whatever that is. Yeah. You know.
Oh, I love that. That's perfect. That's exactly right.
It's true.
I didn't even tell her to say that. She was just everything. No, that means the world. And that's exactly what my mission is. And like, again, you can still see weight loss. You can still see body transformations. You can still see all those things. But if we're not okay with it, then you'll never love it. Yeah. Like, it's not like this magic. You get to this point and then like you'll start loving it. And I think that everybody waits for that and they wait their entire life. Yeah. And it never comes. Right. And you're just like, bruh. You know what I mean?
Because it's not about that.
Exactly. So it's just like, yeah, so I definitely am so proud of you, and I thank you so much for coming on. And we're gonna actually get into the Patreon episodes. So we'll be talking about a little bit more unedited. So we'll get into that. And but thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to follow. Follow Meghan on everything. She's doing amazing things. I'm so proud to watch you just crush it. And she's, you'll see her in the LYB weekly.
That's right.
Getting after it. Until next time.